So, Sean, it's word of the day. What do you got for me?
Well, Kevin, I found a new word that I didn't know existed.
Ooh.
This word is Erikinesis. So this is named after Eris, the god of discord, and it's the power to cause discord in others, Kevin.
Oh my goodness. I'm actually so glad you picked this because I was going over my power play for the day and I'm realizing I never used this discord power in my powers, so this is our chance to feature it. So yay!
Yay! And I love this. So there's a list here. I found this on Superpower Wiki. There's a list of like people in popular culture who have this power. So some of the notable ones is Chaos from Final Fantasy. We also have Lord Chaos and Scarlet Witch from Marvel Comics. Discord from My Little Pony. Loki from just Norse mythology. But Kevin, they also list Hogan from Charmed.
Look at that. Beautiful.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series.
All right, so welcome to Words of the Witches, episode 52? 52.
Question mark?
I'm losing track in my accountants, but I think it's 52. Yes, I'm Kevin, your resident Charmed resource. Hi.
And I'm Sean. I just love comic books.
We all love comic books now. We're in it.
And it's worth noting, not only is today my most favoritist holiday when we're recording this, but it's also the day after Kevin's most favoritist holiday.
You know, they go together like two birds of a feather, now and forever. La 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 la.
Nice.
So yes, it is Halloween on the day we're recording this. So by the time you're hearing this, hope you had a wonderful Halloween. And yeah, my birthday was the day before, but you know, it's my birthday. 35 years old, you know, crazy.
So old.
So old. At least you're older.
I'm older. Cut that part out.
You know, we had a poll from last week to go over.
I like polls.
Yeah, well, it was a question that I asked about the fictional couples. Oh, those polls. I get it now. I'm so not awake yet. It's fine. But I asked, what fictional couple would you cast a spell on to fall in love in every lifetime? And we got some responses, Sean.
Wow.
So Chaos Yeti said Prue and Andy. So sweet. Ultimate J2D2 said Nick and Charlie. I think those are from like that Heartbreakers comic or Heartbreakers show. A gay couple.
Oh, okay.
Then we have our friend Aaron, the Orange Double A, said Gene, Scott, and Logan. He agreed with me.
Oh, what a copycat.
He gets me. You know, it's fine. He says, I can feel the love already. Then we have Brabby's 90 said Jack and Rose from Titanic, David and Patrick from Schitt's Creek for a modern one. I like that.
Yeah.
Sarox 1987 000 said Cowherd and Weaver Girl. Do you know who those are?
No.
I didn't either, so I looked it up. It's actually a Chinese folklore thing about these two lovers that had to be separated on each part of a sea, and they can only come together one day a year. So kind of like what I think that's where pirates got it from, probably.
I was gonna say I've heard that concept before, and you're right, it's pirates.
Very similar to like Chang'e, the goddess of the moon. If you ever watched the movie Over the Moon, it's very similar to that. So yeah, it's
I have not.
Chinese folklore for that. Legion Ivory said Gomez and Morticia Adams, the ultimate couple.
Oh,
so perfect for our Halloween day. Love that.
Yeah.
MBoy92 said Bonnie and Clyde. And then we did get a response on the Spotify page as well, Pris, Pris, said, "Oh my God, yes, Buffy and Spike."
Yay! Somebody agreed with
Yes.
me.
Also, Dan and Piper because neighbor.
Because neighbor.
So those were fun. We got some really good responses. Oh my gosh, there's an Ewok with a candy cane coming out of the screen.
I'm an adult.
That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
Right. So silence! Hear now the words of the witches.
You're not allowed to do that when I'm drinking my coffee.
I gotcha. So today we will be covering Mortal Enemies, issue 4 of season 9 in the comics. This was published December 15th, 2010, written by Paul Ruditis, artwork by somebody new, Marcio Abro. I guess that's how you say it. And we have 3 different covers as well. We have cover A, which is by David Seidman, who we love his artwork. I love all of his covers. That's the one with the 3 of them in kind of like this red glow behind them. Piper has her glowy hands. Phoebe has the book, and Paige is like ready to like do something. She's gonna orb something, or do her orb shield or something. But around them is like this smoky skull looking at them so scarily. Ooh, it's a beautiful cover.
It really is.
Yeah, I really enjoy David's work, and so he's done a lot of these covers, and he will continue to do covers. So yay. Cover B, I don't like as much. This one is by Al Rio and Thomas Mason, and this one is, I don't know if I've showed it to you. I have it in this volume here, so you can see. It's this. So it's got like it's a fully animated thing. But it's got the girls in there with you can't tell who they are. Looks like just could be any random girls. But I guess it's Paige on the bed with some monster claws coming at her. And then the other 2 walking through the door going, "Oh, gasp." It's not very effective to me.
No. It looks like it has one purpose, and that's just to like sexify the girls as much as possible.
Yeah, all the boob everywhere. Short skirt and boob.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had cover C, which was just a picture of season 6 promo picture of them in a Christmas ornament. It says, "Happy Holidays, XOXO, the Hallowells."
Ew.
So those are the 3 covers. Obviously, cover A is the best.
Yeah.
And then we had coloring by Milan Parvanov, and letters by Jim Campbell, edited by Ralph Tedesco and Paul Ruditis. So he's editor now as well. Oh. All right, so let's get started. You want to start with? There's no recap anymore, so we're done with the recaps, I think.
Okay.
So you start with page 1.
I can start. Yeah. All right. So on page 1, we have kind of 2 things going on. We have one side that's all about Hogan and Nina, and we have one side that's all about Paige and Phoebe. Phoebe. You know what the best part is, though, Kevin? I can tell these are Paige and Phoebe.
Look at that.
They actually, like, resemble them.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, so Kevin mentioned we get a new artist. I like this artist more. I feel like the people look more like people. I feel like Phoebe is still the, like, hardest one to tell who she is, but it's a lot better.
Yeah.
The other 2 sisters are a lot better. But on this page, we have on the one side, Hogan and Nina are kind of like arguing. Hogan's like, "This is ridiculous. I just wanted to be rewarded already. Now, like, the next phase of the plan relies entirely on me and my Discord power, Erikinesis, if you will." So he's planning on using his power with the Source to enact the next step in the plan. On the other side, we have Paige and Phoebe, and Phoebe's like, "Oh, I've always thought this would make a good bed and breakfast," since they have all the innocence. Yeah. So we get this kind of offhanded remark that I actually missed the purpose of the first time I read this, where Phoebe says, "It's not as bad now that we sent all the magic-wielding innocents to magic school. I wonder if that comes into play in the story later."
How coincidence, mortal enemies.
Yeah. And Paige says, "Where Leo has a full faculty to share the load, Kevin. Share the load." So basically, this sets up that Hogan and Nina have a plan, and the Charmed One sent a lot of the innocents over to magic school already, but there are still a lot of non-magic people in their house.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of Nina's ethnicity looks different in here.
I feel like she looked more black in the first comics, and now she looks a little more like Hispanic.
Yeah, because I wanted to call that out because throughout the series, we will notice changes in this, and so I wanted to point it out now because Charmed Comic Fan, who's actually a big supporter of this podcast, once they found out that we were doing it, has interviewed Paul and Pat Shand. He interviewed a lot of the people who created the comics, and they asked on the website about Nina's ethnicity. And he says that she was described in the script for issue 1 as being olive-skinned with long curly hair. I would say that her skin tone in that issue was a bit darker than I'd imagined when writing it, though. So, and then the change happened as different artists and colors came on. It wasn't intentional, but he thought it was just a failure of continuity between the different people that were working on him. And he does take responsibility as the editor. He's like, I should have made that more clear for people. So some people got the olive-skinned script thing, or some people were basing it off what they saw from previous issues, and so her ethnicity is kind of moves all around. But
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but I guess he wanted her to be more of olive. So I would say more of a Latin character. That's for me. I would think more of a Latin. So, but later on too, you'll see in further issues down the line, she looks almost like a white chick later. So it's she goes from all around the spectrum. So that will be fun to keep an eye on.
Maybe she's getting the Michael Jackson treatment as we go.
Maybe. Oh my god. Oh.
Should I not say things sometimes?
I think it's fine. All right, page 2. So we have this epic big long page, or big long full page.
Big long. I know where your mind is.
Yeah. So it's a full page of the Source in his goblin body, but he looks better than the last time we saw him. He's angry, he's aggressive, he's muscular. He doesn't look like a big doofus as much anymore. Looks like he's got some purpose.
Right, he's so much less ogre-y. He doesn't have that big overhang over his eyes and that stuff. He looks actually pretty cool.
Yeah. He's got his little thong on, his little Tarzan lambskin thong on. Of course I would notice that. And Hogan is there, touching his thigh. Oh my.
Right. Oh no.
But they're all glowing. Electricity is in the air. They're everywhere. And the Source is about to do a spell. But before we get to that spell, I want to make note of Nina in the background with wind blowing her hair sexily in the wind. Oh, she looks really hot there too. So beautiful.
Do you need a minute?
Okay, I've collected myself. Okay. But here, this page starts our rhyme time moment.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
So, rhyme time. This is a spell that the Source and Hogan are doing to combine their powers. And the first time I read this, I didn't realize this was a spell. I thought he was just making a monologue, but I guess this is a spell.
Me too.
So, but it's not a really good spell. It's kind of a crappy spell, but we'll read it. It says, "Our powers intertwine to infect the minds, the bodies, and the souls of all mortals between ocean and bay. Take this discord we create, turn it against the charmed ones. Collect them for me, hold them for me. or kill them if you must. All right, so part of that spell went onto your page, but I had to read it to finish my spell.
How dare you? Yeah, and it is, you're right, it's kind of a hokey spell, and like I couldn't tell it was a spell at first. I thought he was just monologuing like you said. But on the next page, we have Paige and Phoebe are going upstairs, and they're like, maybe the guys have had some luck figuring out what to do with all these innocents. And I believe that's Phoebe. No, that's Paige walking behind her, who says, it'd be nice if the guys figure out what to do about this. And we get this really kind of creepy page where, like, it looks like a fisheye view, and all of the innocents, their eyes are now glowing, and they're almost like looking directly into the fisheye view camera, so at us.
Yeah, it's haunting. It's like,
dude, I'm scared.
I love the guy though. There's a kid that has like a burger, and then there's a guy that has like a drink. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah. So this spell got them. Mortals possess. Scary. So page 4, we have Piper, and she is with a real estate agent. She is looking for a new spot to open her restaurant. We do have a line here that says, I would have kept my club if I wanted it dark. So we know that she closed P3, sadly. But yeah, so she is working on her next adventure. And she's not happy with where the places she's showing. And the agent's like a little like gruff with her. She's like, fine, whatever. I have other stuff, other places I can show you. He's like, we're not stopping until I find the right spot.
And I like how Piper's basically like, this isn't my fault you're wasting my time and showing me shitty places.
You need to prioritize the best places. Why you give me crap?
All right, and then we continue on my page. She takes her to what looks like, almost like it used to be a sex dungeon, and then like a clown room, and then a disco hall, and Piper's like, no.
Hell no.
No. Hell no.
And then she's like, I got one more place I can show you. And then the next page is like this giant, I don't know what this is. It's a giant building. There's like a glass roof. There's trees in there. So it's like an outdoor area, but inside, because there's a fountain as well.
It looks like the conservatory from Clue.
It does. I wonder where the secret passage is.
Oh.
But yeah, so this is kind of a cool place, but the real estate agent is like, it's a dump. And Piper's like, it's perfect. And so she's like, yeah, I could definitely work with this. She sees the kitchen part in there, which the kitchen does look really nice. There's an angel sculpture, a little cherub on the fountain. So she's like, ooh, I love that. She's like, I can definitely work with this. And then the agent's like, too bad you won't have that chance. And her eyes are glowing behind her glasses, and she attacks Piper.
Hey! So cool. So back in the attic, we have Phoebe and Paige come into the attic to check on Coop and Henry, who are looking for any answers or anything to what's going on and how to help the innocents. And Coop's basically like, no luck yet. And Phoebe feels okay because they put charms around the innocents. So if anything were to affect the innocents, they'll get a heads up, Kevin. They will know nothing's going to happen to their innocence in their manor.
Mm-hmm.
So then Coop and Phoebe leave to go. They almost like what are they doing here? They're going to put the fear of Cupid into these mortals? Are they going to have sex?
No, they're going to go check on the mortals downstairs because they heard a crash. Like, they better not be tearing up our house. We're going to go lay it into them. Yeah.
Oh, there's the crash. Okay, yeah. I see. I was just hoping for sex. And then this leaves Paige alone with Henry, and in the background we see that Henry has been possessed, and he's not looking too happy with Paige.
He's got, like, hands that look like they're going to scrunch on something.
Yeah, scrunch your hands. Henry, scrunch your hands.
So the next page has Coop and Phoebe. They are running down the stairs. they're like, what are they making all this noise for? And then this like vase comes whizzing behind them, crashing behind. So they got thrown at. They got this vase thrown at them. So they're like, Zach, crash! Ah, watch out! And then they look at all the mortals down below. What's up with their eyes? Oh no! She's like, must be a spell. We need to run! And so they run up the stairs.
Meanwhile, back in the attic, Paige is being strangled by glowy-eyed Henry, and she's like, Henry, I'm sorry. Lamp! And she pours the lamp into Henry's head, knocking him out, and she goes, I'm so sorry.
I really love the emotion in this last panel, though, because you can see how broken up she is about this.
Yeah, it's good artwork, and it's very actiony.
Yeah.
They did a good job of translating, because there's not a lot of words, but we see exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And this looks like Henry, compared to like the last issue where he did not look like Henry at all.
Right.
Next page has Phoebe and Coop running. I love like the very like cartoon run, like whoosh, whoosh. And then they come running into the attic, and they're like, the natives are a little pissed. And this is where Coop asks for a little help. He's slamming the door, and I look at this door. There's like fingers coming out underneath. He's gonna knock these fingers off this person.
Oh,
like Billy Butcherson in the sewer. It's like, ooh, these poor fingers. But they slam the door, and I was like, is Paige orbiting a doorstop? I couldn't tell what this was happening, because this is not like blue orbs. It's just like a white glowy thing. You know?
That's true, yeah. She says that should keep them out a while, but yeah, I don't know what she did here.
So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, oh. I was just very confused by that. But I'm guessing it's supposed to be Paige orbiting, but the colorist got it wrong and did white, maybe? Maybe it was just a coloring mistake?
Maybe.
So, but yeah, so they do that. They get the doorstop in there, and then Paige tends to Henry, and she's just like making sure he's still breathing, making sure he's still good. And they just make a plan to grab the book and figure this out. And they're like, what about Piper?
What about Piper? Let's find out.
Yeah.
So we return to Piper, and she's in this very sensual hug with her glowy-eyed realtor. Okay, it's not a hug. She's attacking her. And we basically get like, what's your deal, lady? And she smacks off the realtor, and then she's like, this is no way to make a sale. And then we get this cool action shot of like Piper basically taking on the realtor like bare-fisted. And the realtor's like, yeah. And the realtor's like a karate expert and like kicks Piper in the stomach until we see Piper freeze her, and we get a new sound effect. We get zoom.
Well, we had that in issue 2 though too, except it's actually an extra M.
Okay, I missed the Shazam.
Yeah, but still, like this action scene was crazy. Like this agent was very like, I kept getting Felicia Hardy like Black Cat vibes.
Oh, I can see that.
Because here she's like crouching on like the counter, and then she's like jumping in the air down here. I'm like, she's like flying. Like this was intense. It was pretty cool. So she freezes her, and the next page we cut back to Nina and Hogan, and the Source is like rallying up his minions. Hogan is really mad. He's like, the Source is all full of himself. He's not even including us in his plan. He doesn't thank us at all. Yeah, and it's here where she looks lighter skinned to me, especially. She looks very Latin.
Yeah,
Nina does. So. But yeah, and then they're talking, and then the Source is like, do not test me, Warlock. I can hear everything you're saying about me. And Nina's like, oh, don't mind him. We'll support you. We love you. And it's like, and then she's like, let's go, Hogan. We got more important things to do.
I love your loincloth.
I do too. Yeah.
Okay. This next page really confused me. I actually was like, is this comic out of order? Like, is a page missing? Because we leave off with Nina saying, let him go, Hogan. We've got more important things to do. And then we have one of those like ... like she's finishing the sentence,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, "Then we came here." So I guess that's left over from
The page before.
Oh, that's one of the sisters saying,
Yeah,
like,
they left the
"Then we
attic
came
and
here."
came.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so suddenly they're in magic school, and it doesn't really ever tell us like when they went to magic school or how they got there, which I assume Paige orbed them. But we find out that because Henry is now within magic school walls, he's not in control, or he's not under the aerokinesis anymore.
Yeah, not
He's free
affected
of
by the spell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we get this really kind of touching scene where Henry's basically like, "I'm so sorry for what I did to you." And Paige is like, "It's not your fault, dude. You were under a spell." He's like, "Stop it. Stop taking the responsibility away." She's like, "No, you were under a spell, like literally." And he's like, "I can still feel your throat underneath my hands." So that's even darker to me, that like he knew what he was doing. He couldn't stop himself.
Right. He had all the memories, all the feelings, and it was completely out of control. It's scary. And I do love this. Oh my gosh.
I do too. And the fact that Paige says, we'll talk about this later, like I know we don't really come back to this in this comic, but this seems like something to me that we're gonna have like a story about, like maybe Henry like not being comfortable with magic because he almost killed his wife, or like him becoming more protective of her or something, because this is a very deep story.
I do like in the second panel here, you see a kind of like a picture of Leo, Piper, Chris, Wyatt, and Melinda all in there, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
little family picture there. Oh wait, I do have this last panel. I do have a "you look familiar" moment.
It's funny, she's so familiar to me, though. Reminds me of this old stray that used to hang outside my loft.
Familiars, that's what I'm looking for.
Have we met before? You look familiar.
Oh.
Where you see Paige there with the finger in her ear. I got major flashbacks to Little Box of Horrors when she's getting those ringing in her ears. She's getting the charge in. It sounds like a power drill. And she's like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going to put a side-by-side of those next to each other because they are very similar and very close. I mean, this is not a direct drawing from it. Some of the things are more direct, but you can tell that there's definitely like inspiration from that.
It is funny on this page, now that you mentioned Paige, because I feel like the first time we see her talking to Henry in that long shot, like that really looks like Rose McGowan. I could tell that's her. But as we go on, it looks less and less like her as we go through the page.
And I don't know if it's just like sometimes, because I know they were under a lot of time constraints, so maybe he's like, I'm going to focus really on this picture.
Because even like the hairstyle changes.
Yes. And I was glad you mentioned that, because her hair in this, I mean, it does change. It's like down and then it's to the side. But it reminds me a lot of like her later season 7 hairstyle. She had her kind of like those bangs, and she had like in a ponytail sometimes. She always wore those hoop earrings just like this. So it was very much giving me those feelings.
Yeah.
So I got a first double spread over here. Oh!
Spread it!
We get Piper and a car chase. This is so cool.
I know.
So she's in her Jeep. I don't know why it's green. That's a little odd that it's green, because it's supposed to be like navy blue. It's fine. But she's being chased by a cop on a motorcycle. Ew, ew, ew. And she's running down because, this guy's a mortal. He's like out to get her. And then she passes more like possessed mortals on the street. They're like giving her the death stare. Urgh. And she's just like, no points on my license today. Grr, screech. She like knocks the policeman off his bike. Lost him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we get Piper rushing home. We get screech, ew, ew. And she's like, Phoebe, Paige, ew, ew, ew. Oh, crap, because she sees inside the manor that the innocents are attacking. And then we get boom, boom. And they're like, that's not good. What's that outside? Paige and Phoebe orb in like next to Piper on the doorstep of the house. And we see the source of all evil is looking at them. So he has arrived at the manor, Kevin. So one thing I was a little confused about is I thought he just possessed the innocents, but he seems to have possessed like everybody.
Yeah. Everybody in the world, or maybe in the town, maybe in San Francisco, I don't know, who's immortal, who's not magical.
Yeah.
As I mean, except for in magic school. If you're in magic school, you're safe. So Leo wasn't affected because he was in magic school as well, because he would have turned as well, since he's mortal now.
Yeah. I feel like they were smart for writing that in, that, oh, we got all the magic users out, because they would have like caused chaos. They probably would have killed the charmed ones.
Yeah. All right. So the next page has the Source standing there all smug and cocky in his loincloth, and this police car just crashes into his leg. He's like, foolish mortal.
Oh, that tickles.
And he's monologuing. He's like, don't tell me you've forgotten your old friend, the Source. And then you give like a shot of each of their faces. Like, oh, we got to get him. And I love Paige Shady. She's like, someone's put on a little weight. Although maybe it's muscle weight. Muscle mass is a thing. Like, you're looking really good, man. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like you're much taller and heavier than you were last time we saw you.
Yeah.
And I do like these drawings of them. And once again, like Phoebe is the less of the likenesses, but they're pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, and then from here we have a continuation. So Paige said you put on weight, and he says, and a lot of power. And then he throws a fireball that explodies and throws all the sisters, like as they're getting out of its way, but also being kind of pushed by its force. We get a boom, and then we get Paige saying, I figured this new power would come in handy, because she's using like the Invisible Woman's shield that she has now.
Her orb shield. Look at that. She's a pro now.
And then and then we have Phoebe going alley-oop and jumping. Do you think she's using her levitation power, or just like jumping really well?
I think she's levitating. She got that back. Now she's like, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Alley-oop.
Alley-oop.
So they're still fighting. Paige has got her orb shield up. They're like, what are we going to do? Any other ideas? Paige and Phoebe's like, a tank. So, and then Paige is like, we have the Book of Shadows at Magic School. Maybe we can find something there. We just have to get back to Magic School. And then the Source is like doing this whole like giant fireball, spirit bomb style over his shoulders. He's gonna like incinerate them all. Looking very aggressive. I love it.
Yeah. Kevin.
Yes.
There is a comic book no-no on this next page.
Okay.
So I will tell you about it as we go.
Okay.
So we see the Source throw a fireball. And Piper, they're like, Piper, don't. And she's like, whoa. She kind of like jumps in front and uses a power. And we see this very sexy Source melting basically into the asphalt, or the asphalt like grabbing him. And then the three sisters are about to orb out through Paige, and Phoebe says, Piper, you melted the street. And Paige says, how did you melt the street? And Piper says, no idea. And then it looks like, I think that's Piper from the angle, yells, Paige, because the fireball's about to hit them, but they orb out just in time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what my pet peeve might be?
No idea. What is it?
So this is like comic book time, Kevin, because he throws the thing. Piper uses her power as she's jumping, but then we see them having a discussion as they're standing there. So Piper has stood up. They're having a whole discussion, and the fireball is still coming out.
You're right. The timing doesn't work.
Yeah, I think like a lot of times, especially in like X-Men, you'll see like an action shot and there's this whole paragraph of dialogue. I'm like, how is this person saying all this as they're jumping away from,
Wow.
So it's comic book time. Comic book time.
Because she has enough time to melt him, talk, and orb away before he even hits them.
Yeah, unless they just didn't show like him throwing another fireball, we could go with that. But yeah, it looks like the same fireball.
Right. I mean, it was pretty big. I don't know if you have enough time to to make a new one that quick.
Do another.
Yeah. But here we go. This is our power play moment. Power play. Power play. So,
Power play.
Piper has a new power.
Yeah.
This is molecular acceleration. Okay, so molecular acceleration is the ability to make molecules reverberate at a speed which causes them to become disordered, and then that causes an object to rapidly heat up, and as a result, the power can cause objects to melt or burn. So this is like a more controlled form of her molecular combustion power, her blowy-uppy power, and so it's like, I guess, more refined. With her power, she can speed molecules up to make them melt, ignite, heat up objects, or you can speed up air molecules to apply heat and force to an object as well.
Yeah, I think out of all of the powers evolving, this one seems like the most seamless to me. Like, it makes the most sense because it's very similar to what she could do before. It's just to the next level.
Yeah, or at least more nuance to it, you know? I would actually argue that Piper has already used this in the series in Kill Billy Volume 2 when they're like in the underworld and they're like stranded there. She sparked a fire. She did her power and she sparked a fire in the underworld for warmth.
Oh, that's very true. I remember that part.
So I would say that that's what she did there. Interessant.
Interessant.
There are limitations to this power because the user has to be able to move or point their hands in the target's direction, and it's solely channeled through the hands. So you couldn't, if your hands were tied, you couldn't do this through your eyes or move your head or something like that. It has to be through your hands itself. Inexperienced users may cause uncontrolled fires, which we don't want that. Keep that in mind. But I made a continuum to think about this to better understand her power and how it's kind of all one power when you think about it. So start with molecular immobilization. This is where she's literally stopping and freezing molecules. That's her first power. But there's also molecular deceleration. Above that would be where you cause molecules to slow down, but not freeze. They're still moving, but just in slow motion, which would have been helpful at this panel, in this page.
Yeah.
And Piper has never demonstrated that power, but we have seen P. Baxter from the past. Her past life had that power to decelerate molecules. And then there's molecular acceleration, this one, speeding molecules enough to heat them. And then molecular combustion, where molecules are sped up so fast that they explode. So really, it's all the same power, just in different degrees, in different variations.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that because Piper went from one extreme to the other, and then as her power matures, she's learning to explore the middle capabilities of it. So, yeah. Cool. All right, this is our final page. All right, so this is them at Magic School. They orbed in. Coop and Henry and Leo are there, and they're like, I thought we vanquished the source, vanquished the source once and for all before. And then Leo's like, it's probably just his demon form. The actual essence of the source as well. He is the source of all evil, which I love that because that ties into what we've been saying all this time, that you can't vanquish the source. He's always going to be around as long as there's evil because it's an energy. And he's like, yeah, as long as there's evil in the world, there might as well always have been a source. And Piper's like, to hell with that. I'm going to vanquish him. I'll do it. I can do it.
I can do it.
And then she's like, for good. And then we get like this like group Power Ranger pose.
Yeah.
But I do have one final you look familiar moment here as well.
It's funny, she's so familiar to me, though. Reminds me of this old stray that used to hang outside my loft.
Familiars. That's what I'm looking for.
Have we met before? You look familiar.
Do it.
Leo in this panel where he's with Paige doing that side glance. It was definitely drawn directly from a screen capture of season 8, episode 1, Still Charmed and Kicking, where Leo is looking like that. So I'm going to do a side-by-side of that as well. So this issue had 2
Yay.
You look familiar moments, and it's going to be cool to see them next to each other.
You know what's really funny is I feel like, is this Henry in the background? Like, he was just kind of drawn in. Like, the editor was like, hey, can we get Henry in this shot? And they just kind of like threw him in there behind Leo. It took me a while to be like,
yeah,
is that one of the kids like on his back? But no, that's Henry.
Yeah. Too funny. Oh, no, that's Coop. Actually, there's Henry in the front, and the kid in the back.
Oh, Coop.
The kid in the back is the guy in the back is Coop.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like the guys are a little harder to discern in this comic than the girls.
For sure, especially in this one. Like Henry, I can tell for sure because I see a little bit of it in him, but the other two are tricky. Especially Koopa.
Yeah.
I think the Koopa was the hardest in this issue. Sometimes he did not look like Koopa. And like when he first appeared, I had to like read the words for context because I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. It could be anybody.
Me too. I was doing that same thing.
Yeah. So, but that's the end of that issue. We did it. Oh. So overall thoughts on this one?
I like this one. I thought it could have been a little more clear that like everybody was possessed, and the only other thing is what I pointed out where it was confusing when they got to magic school. But besides that, like this artist is really good with action shots. Like the story feels a lot more dangerous. It feels a lot more like the Charm show to me. So I like this one, Kevin, and we're slowly unwrapping the mystery with Nina and Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like the source seems to be just a part of their plan. So I'm very curious as to like, you brought back the source, but yet you still have more going on. Like, what is this?
Right. Nina's like, hush, hush, over here. We got other stuff to do. I'm like, oh, what is she planning? Oh,
Yeah.
So this is my favorite issue so far.
Yeah.
This is the first issue that kind of really impressed me the whole way through. Really great action, and the art conveyed that all. Everywhere they went, there was a threat because all these mortals, and they couldn't even kill them because they were mortals, they're innocents, and they have to like just fight them off the best they can without doing too much damage. So that's a tricky thing in itself. Piper was badass as hell in this. I loved her hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
I loved her car chases. And I also truly appreciated what happens when Henry attacks Paige because I could feel the emotion from Paige in that moment. I feel the emotion of Henry in the aftermath. I kind of legit cried reading this.
Wow.
So it got me. I really liked it. Let's move on to put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
Is there anything you noticed that goes against the canon?
Nothing that, well, except for the color of her car, which you pointed out, but I didn't notice anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to find problems with this issue. But yeah, definitely the color of the Jeep. And if I was going to be really nitpicky, I would say that there's no colored stained glass in the manor doors when we see them because they're all just kind of like that straight like silver. I'm not gonna bother me that much. It was so minor, but if I was gonna be nitpicky, I'd say that.
Yeah, the only other thing I didn't like is on that really cool like Fishbowl Kids page. The manor looks very like gross. They
Dirty.
probably did that to make
Yeah.
the picture look scarier, but like it just didn't look like the manor to me as much.
Okay.
But I could see the resemblance.
Yeah. Okay. Tips for future white lighters. What's the moral?
Oh, really just messengers? Guides? Think of us as guardian angels for good witches.
Tips for future white lighters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
Oh, I forgot about that question. The moral. What's the moral, Kevin? You know what? I'm going to say the moral is I'm going to base this on Miss Piper.
Okay.
But if you keep believing in yourself, you can find the answers to anything because she got her new power in the face of danger. So you never know what you're capable of.
Yeah. See? I put blaming the victim of abuse is never correct, especially if it's the victim themselves doing it. It's not okay. That's never the right answer.
Wow, you actually had a good one. I had a bad one.
Well, because we didn't really get into the nitty gritty of what they said there. Because Paige says, "Stop it. It's not your fault. If anything, it's mine." And he says, "Don't do that. In my job, I hear too many victims blaming themselves." So, and then it's just so powerful. He didn't grab her arm. He just gently placed his hand on her arm. And that comes through in the still image so beautifully. And she's shocked. And his look, even though it's a little demented, is genuine and sensitive, and I see it in his eyes here too. So, I love it.
Yeah, it's very strong, and I like the idea that they both want to shoulder the blame, even though it's really neither of their faults. But like, it's very sweet that they care that much about each other.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that we saw in the show. We got that chemistry in the show, and I love that that's still really apparent in the comic books.
Yeah.
All right. Next is onomatopoeia. This one had a lot of words. You can choose your favorite.
I know there are so many that I'm like, oh, that's it. And then it's like, no, I like this one better. I think my favorite in this is the police sound, Kevin.
I almost chose that too. I was very tempted to choose that one, but I ended up going with whoosh for fireball. Yeah. It just sounds sexy. Whoosh. I love to say it.
Whoosh.
And then there's the little grit in there. Whoosh. You get that real meat. All right.
Yeah. I want to whoosh inside you.
I am so tinky right now. What is the most valuable panel?
Most valuable. Let's see. I really liked. There were a couple, which is why I'm having some trouble. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go with the one because it was so like creepy to me. Is the one with the kids still? Like it's such a well drawn and creepy image.
Yeah, I can see that. Cool. Mm-hmm. Mine is. I'm still gonna do that one I mentioned earlier with Paige and Henry. I'm probably gonna do the middle one where they're together and you can see they're both of their emotions. That's my favorite one. All right, and now the sexiest drawing. What's the sexiest one? Oh,
so I'll explain myself real quick. Is I kind of have this thing where some of my favorite villains are like darkly sexy in a way. Like for example, like Mr. Sinister is scary looking, but he's also like got abs and like strangely sexy. So that's why I like him so much. So all that to say, I love this image of Hogan grabbing the Source's like thigh, and the Source is all like built. He's all like muscular. He's got his loincloth. Like this is the villain I want to see. I don't want to see that ogring like oaf
Not
Source in the last episode.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just sexy. Like he didn't have to touch his thigh, but he's touching his thigh. It could have been his knee. It could have been his like hand, but no, it's just thigh, Kevin.
That I agree. That's my sexiest drawing pick as well. It's so hot. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You said the Source and his muscles, Hogan and his muscles, the energies. I mean, that's some chemistry right there. All the magic floating in there, and then Nina in the back, looking hot as hell, like action hero, hair blown in the wind, in her mini skirt and stuff. Like it is hot.
Yeah. I do want to say, speaking of hot, honorable mention, I almost chose when he throws the fireball when the asphalt is melting on his feet. That's a very sexy image also. I feel like he got sexier and sexier throughout this issue.
Yeah. Get it, Sourcey.
Yeah. Get that loincloth. I want to push inside you.
Oh, yeah. Good times. Oof. So we've made it to our issue ranking. What would you rank this issue?
I would rank this one. The second one is Pretty Witchin', right?
Right.
Okay. This one doesn't get a perfect score from me because of some of the issues we talked about, but it does get a Pretty Witchin' because like this was a really good, and just like you, this is my favorite one so far because maybe it's the artist, maybe the story just got better, but it conveyed its story so well and so clearly.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to give this a Magically Delicious, my first ever Magically Delicious. Oh, and just because I was really into the story, there was no real flaws, nothing that bothered me. I mean, some of the artwork is still a little bit questionable, and that that's there, but everything from the plot points, I could not find any fault with it. It kept me on my toes, the action, the emotion, it was all there. So I was very happy with this issue. PS4 poll for next week.
Prue?
Piper. You mean it's just you and Prue, huh?
Phoebe? Phoebe, you there?
And a big hello to you too, Penny.
Come on, Patty.
rest is up to them.
Paige. My name is Paige.
Another P, imagine that.
P is for Paul.
Which of Piper's powers is your favorite? So you can choose molecular immobilization, molecular combustion, or molecular acceleration. We'll see what people like the best.
Cool, that'll be fun.
Yeah, do you have your favorite of those?
I would say not only because it's new, but I like mobile acceleration just because I think it's, like you said, more nuanced. It's more like she can do more with it. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun power to see in the comics. I think if I chose, I'd probably still pick the molecular immobilization because that's just where it started it all. That's her base power.
Yeah.
That's the one from Melinda Warren. And it's just, I have a sentimental feeling for that one.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I guess we're going to our what's next. Do you have that page?
I do, and it's a very pretty picture of Phoebe. I love it.
Yay.
So issue 5 is called Unnatural Resources, and it says the Charmed Ones face off against an ancient evil with an army of minions that present Piper, Phoebe, and Paige with their greatest challenge ever. These forces of evil are bent on destruction, tearing apart the Hollowell family, and possibly keeping Piper from ever opening her restaurant.
Oh, no.
As if that's the most important thing. They saved it for last.
Right.
They could kill everybody and tear the Charmed Ones apart. But worst off, what about her restaurant?
Like, she'll lose so much money. How unfortunate. All right, so that's it. We'll look forward to that. Yeah. And if you still want that discount on Argen Creations, use Spellworder. Don't forget, it's going for Evas. So you can go there and buy stuffs.
Nice.
So where can people find you and stuff, Sean?
You can find me this week on Once Upon a Cult. We just talked about Sufism Reoriented, which is interesting because the owner of Cheesecake Factory is part of it, and a lot of your money when you go to Cheesecake Factory is poured into Sufism Reoriented.
Oh my gosh. I go there quite a bit.
You can see, yeah, look at
now.
you funding a cult.
Oh my god.
No, it's interesting. I won't say if we decided it was a cult or not, but we definitely had a strong opinion as to the money that goes from Cheesecake into this group. So I'll leave that for the listeners to decide. But also you can find me and Kevin on Solving for X, where we just completed the Phoenix Saga. Mm-hmm. And you can find me on Marvelous Galaxy of Disney.
Yay! Yeah, and you can follow me at KGZ87 or this podcast at Words of the Witches everywhere, except we're different on Twitter. That's Words of Witches. And yeah, we'll see you next week for Unnatural Resources.
Yeah, I'm excited!
Yay! Your destiny still awaits. Thanks for listening.
Silence!